Okay, hello everybody. Today's date is September 4th, 2021. My name is Leslie Williams. I live in San Diego, California. I'm a target victim and activist concerning the continued criminal expeditions of what is known as gang stalking. And it's not stalking by gangs. Now check this out. I'm aware that you only see black right now in the video. That's because this is an audio video. And I strongly suggest that you go into this YouTube channel, into my videos or your videos, to watch the videos that are dedicated to this YouTube channel, because there's a lot of very informative videos dedicated to this channel, and of course as well to my other channels. Now, while I'm making this video, I'm going to be making myself something to eat. So if I seem a little distracted at brief seconds during the video being made, that's why. So just still stay with me, don't go nowhere. Now what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to explain to you a few things about what gang stalking programs are reported to be capable of doing. So I want you to listen to me very carefully. Before I segue into that specific subject matter though, and trust me when I say, when you start hearing me talk, your mind's going to be blown, so stay with me, don't walk away. The first thing I want to say is this. If anything that's ever discussed in any gang stalking victims' videos, one of the main methods of gang stalking, because gang stalking is a program, one of the main methodologies that these filthy satanic rats who are hosting it do to the great majority of victims is claim the victim is mentally ill, a threat to themselves or others, and or can't take care of themselves. Okay, now this is done for multiple reasons: to discredit the victim on police reports, incident sheets, through the police information sheets, doctor reports, and so on. Now, there's many motives of why that's done. It's got to do with a lot of insurance fraud schemes, illegal probate control schemes, racketeering schemes, done through the system. By and through, though, they dress it up to make it look like everything's legitimate, which ain't nothing but extreme criminal lies. Every bit of everything they do is based on criminality. Okay? So, if you are a target of this crime and you're enduring specific types of technologies, which I'm going to be talking to you about here in a couple minutes, these perpetrators in the system who are perpetrating the program of gang stalking know that you can't prove certain tech they're using on you, because they don't allow you to prove it through doctors and hospitals. And even if you did get any type of proof, because there's so many different things going on in gang stalking. There's implantation, there's non-consensual human experimentation. This crime is involved in every crime motivation you can think of, including ones that you would not even imagine. So any and all types of crimes that you see and hear throughout your life, trust me, gang stalking is directly related. Gang stalking, every crime that you can think of, gang stalking is involved in. Make no mistake about it. Now, hold on a second. So they know they're perpetrating these crimes through the system, and they know that these criminal false diagnoses and falsified police reports and stuff like that, they know they can depend on that later if they want to entrap the target into an institution or illegal probate control, so they can continue to make money off the victim in an isolated environment, while dressing it up to make it appear that it's being all done through legal means. So the reason why I brought that up is because when you start exposing some of the most extreme crimes concerning this crime and how they're able to be achieved, well, they already know you're telling the truth. Go to Google and type in, Google all my main descriptions concerning this crime. So these satanic rats who are hosting this crime, they know you're telling the truth. And when you go to Google and you type in cyber surveillance and gang stalking, you will easily deduce that cyber surveillance is one of the biggest methodologies that these insane criminal horrors are doing against all victims. Now, this is not a video to educate you about the program of gang stalking. This is a video to educate you about some of the things that are reported online of crimes that gang stalking crimes are doing and are capable of. So listen closely. Now, so let me wrap up that previous small little tidbit of information I was just talking about a minute ago. If you go on to detail including possibly even the things that I'm going to detail in this particular video, and they know you're exposing it. Don't think that the government can't look for a normal apparent excuse to know where your videos are, so they can then say, okay, well, this is our excuse concerning why we know this person's videos are online. We decided to take a look and look at what's being said. So we believe that these statements stem from some type of mental illness. So we better get this person some help. Oh, absolutely. These people are nothing but the most sick, vile, disgusting sewer rats that have literally ever walked this planet, and this is no exaggeration. So when a gang stalking victim is exposed in extremely sensitive subject matters about this crime concerning what's being reported, if they state they're enduring it themselves, well, they can use the truth, call it a lie, and then claim that it stems from a mental illness and lock you up in order to literally achieve crime motivations that can even be part of the subject matter that you're disclosing. So just bear with me, and here we go. Yeah. So, one of the main, there are many different technologies that are reported to be used by these mass murdering animals, and I'm going to mention the names of some of them right now. Okay, so here they are. Remote neural monitoring, voice-to-skull technology with voice morphing, the microwave hearing effect, holosonics, the audio spotlight, ultrasonic sound bone conduction, and ultrasonic sound bone conduction torture, infrasound, silent sound spread spectrum. What else do we got? ELF transmissions and ELF weaponry, electromagnetic weapons and gang stalking, and electromagnetic weapons torture and gang stalking. Okay? And you can also be tortured through the remote neural monitoring and the ultrasonic sound bone conduction, and so on and so forth. So what you should understand about these wild satanic rats who are hosting this crime, and the criminally insane whores who are connected to them and allowing it, because it's just nothing but a big, gigantic, organized crime syndicate within the system at the federal, state, and local level, working together as an up and operating nationwide syndicate with covert connections and colluding partnering relationships with businesses and pretty much everywhere the victim goes. Okay? You research the community-based harassment connected to gang stalking. Okay? Now, so if any other technologies come to mind that are widely reported that this crime uses, I will discuss them as well. I'm trying to stay just with the specific subject matter of this video, and it's very hard, it's very easy to get sidetracked when you're talking about this crime because there's so much involved in it, okay? And many things that they do are also connected to other things that they do. Meaning that one specific technology can have multiple purposes, one specific staged event can have multiple motivations, and so on. So, let me give an example of how bad gang stalking is pertaining to what's being reported online. Hold on one second. Now, let's say if you have a gang stalking victim, and that victim realizes they know they're being gang stalked. They know that they're being gang stalked as well along their routes concerning literally every place they go. Literally, this is how bad gang stalking is. And I'm going to give you some more information so you can discover more detailed information and massive amounts of information pertaining to descriptions that I state that are related to how businesses and so on can be used in libraries and universities and so on. So just stay with me. So consider this. Say if you got a victim who knows they're being gang stalked, and that particular victim doesn't have any cars or vans or trucks or anything. They just got a bicycle. So they don't really, and so they decide to go to their routine is pretty basic. Hold on one second. Excuse me, please. So say if they got a regular basic routine, but it wouldn't even really matter if the victim decided to alter their routine and go to different places. The victim would still be gang stalked there, because you got to remember the victim is being gang stalked everywhere they go. But let's just say you got a gang stalking victim who chooses to go to a main grocery store to get their immediate needs met, one that might be very close to where they may be staying at. Hold on, because I lit a cigarette, so briefly I'm going to take extremely small breaks to take a puff off it, so bear with me. Mm. So say if you got a victim who routinely goes in this one neighborhood grocery store, and then in the same neighborhood, that same victim has got a post office box, but not in the same plaza as the grocery store. So we got two different business plazas. One victim, the victim going to the grocery store to get their grocery and water needs met, and then and that's in one business plaza. Hold on, I do apologize for the disruptions. And then the same victim has to go to a different plaza in order to go to their post office. Because this particular victim I'm referring to is been made homeless. So they no longer have a mailbox on their apartment because they no longer have an apartment. Trust me, you're going to see all this in a minute. So the victim goes to two separate plazas, one for grocery store needs and the other plaza to at least go get their mail out of their P.O. box. So and this victim has also been made homeless. So say if the victim follows kind of like a regular structured routine concerning what they do when they're out and about in the community. They just go to the grocery store, they go get their mail, maybe they might go into Best Buy to buy some electronics or to pay their phone bill if they have one. Hold on. But this same victim usually sticks to a general routine of where they go, and then when they finish their day, they go to where they go to sleep at or to hang out at until they go to a place to go to sleep at. Right? So they can be by themselves and not be continually harassed openly, physically, through physical people continually like they are when they're out and about in the community. Hold on. I'm going to put the cigarette out. So, trust me, when you hear this shit's going to blow your mind. So, the victim routinely goes to this one store to get their grocery needs met, and the same grocery store might have even allowed that victim, let's just say, to charge their computers, like on the electrical outlet that's outside the store somewhere. Now, so the victim goes there to get their grocery needs met. They might go there maybe on occasion to charge their chargers. A lot of homeless people end up doing that actually in California. Now, I live in San Diego, so, okay. So, the victim goes to this grocery store. They go there 2-3 times a week to get their needs, to at least get their grocery and water needs met. Then, every time the victim goes there, by the time they leave there, there's only a certain amount of daylight time left. So usually when that victim leaves that store, they usually go to the wooded area that they're going to go to and at least rest at or spend the night at. So the reason why I brought that up is because that's usually the last place that particular victim will go to before they end their day of running around. So let's say you go to the grocery store and you're this victim and you want to get some fried chicken that they make at the deli. So you can either eat the chicken after you buy it or wait till you get to a wooded area to eat it. They might want to get some french fries too. So the victim goes to the deli department and they're standing there and they're seeing that the only chicken that's left looks like it was 5 hours old. Okay. And the victim is in a hurry on that particular day because they got to still go to the post office. All right? So the victim hasn't ate all day, and they say to themselves, "So I'm just going to grab some fast chicken like I always do, or fast French fries, or whatever else might be sold in the hot foods that they serve at the deli within a grocery store, which is at the delicatessen." So the victim says, "Okay, I'm going to go get my last thing I need here from the deli so I can get something to eat, and then I'm going to go outside, pack up my stuff on my bike, and I'm then going to go to the post office." Now, this is what the victim usually does when the victim is in that area. The victim has done it many, many, many times in this order, where they go to the grocery store first and then go to the post office, because the post office might be in the same general area where the victim might then go to a place they had to be by themselves at after they leave the post office. So instead of going to the post office first and then going to the grocery store and then going way back out of their way to then get to where they're going to end up going to, they decide to go to the post office last because that's more along that victim's route. Everything flows evenly together, sequentially together, in order to save time. So the victim's at the grocery store and they approach the deli counter and they discover that the only fried chicken that they got left in the hot foods department of the deli department looks all old and beat up and dried and hard. And in fact, maybe even on the one of the most recent visits to the same store before that visit, when the victim bought fried chicken, the chicken was that chicken so hard as a rock you couldn't even chew it. So then the next time the victim goes to the store and they go to the delicatessen and they see that the chicken looks like it's all beat up and hard, they know that that victim, do they have any way of knowing that the fried chicken that the victim got on the prior visit was all beat up and hard? Now, when you research grocery stores and gang stalking, especially to these 5 states, Michigan, Tennessee, California, Florida, and New York, when you research gang stalkings in grocery stores, gang stalking in businesses, any type of business you can think of, and I'll talk about that here in a few minutes, you're going to see that there's massive amounts of Google-generated responses. Now, so then when the victim is seeing that the fried chicken looks the same way that it did on the prior visit, and the victim knows what they endured as a result of buying that old beat-up chicken on the prior visit, well then, do you think that maybe that the crime itself would have the power to walk into the delicatessen and say to the people in the delicatessen, take all the fresh chicken off the tray and just leave the old beat-up shit? Or maybe even go as far as taking beat-up old chicken that was there hours before, set it aside, because they know that gang stalking victim's purchase habits. Set it aside, and then when we see her going into the store, take whatever good chicken you got out and put the old beat-up shit there. Just hear me out. What do you think the gang of gang stalking is? The gang of gang stalking is, in part, where everybody and anybody can be used at any time, anywhere, about anything. And if you don't think that I haven't seen, hold on just one more second. If you don't think that I have not seen, I discovered gang stalking physically online on June 9, 2009 in Michigan. And I have been in-depthly, hold on. Oh, sorry about the brakes. Give me a second. I have been in-depthly studying this crime online practically every single day since, in one form or another. So it's now September 2021, and I discovered gang stalking on June 9, 2009. That's 12, just about 12 years. So if you don't think that I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to this program, think again. I do. Because you got to remember, I don't just have a lot of educated knowledge concerning this crime. I got a lot of massive experience. I have repeatedly seen reports on the internet from my fellow victims who have openly stated that their purchases at stores and businesses are being monitored, and that some of their purchases are even being fucked with, including when the victim gets to get their hair cut. Now, you got to understand something about gang stalking. Gang stalking crimes, this program, will literally do anything at any time, anywhere, about anything. It will go to extreme lengths just so that it can create one effect that's detrimental to the victim. No matter what type of, whether the effect is large or small or in the medium size, they will fucking go to any and all lengths. Any and all lengths. So the victim goes to the delicatessen, and they see when they approach it, because this is one of the main things. This is what the victim does every single time they go to the specific grocery store, because that's where the victim usually gets their meal, like their late lunch or early dinner, every time they go there. Every time they go there. So it's a routine place that the victim goes to. You should also know this particular victim has got massive amounts of identical verbal harassment caught at the same business, inside and outside of it, including that harassment being caught being said by and through, but not limited to, managers, employees, and people coming in and acting as customers. So when you look at how it's reported online that victims are saying their purchases are being intentionally fucked with, and even haircuts are being intentionally botched, okay? Do you think that a crime that's already widely reported online to be capable of doing anything and everything at any and all times, even things that are extreme, even things that are bizarre, do you honestly think that they would not stay within their tradecraft of what they do. So the victim goes to the delicatessen 2 visits in a row, including this one, and they look at what's available. The victim hasn't eaten, let's say the victim hasn't ate for 5 hours. So the victim's hungry, and the victim still has another place to go to before the victim decides to, go to a wooded area and rest, or go to a wooded area and camp for the night. Okay? So the victim's tired. The victim's still got one more place to go to. One of the last things the victim does when the victim goes into this, while the victim's in the store, is to go to the delicatessen to get some hot food so they can either eat it before they get to the post office or take it with them so they can eat it at the wooded area. This is what the victim does every single fucking time the victim is there, literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. So, gang stalking is also massively widely reported to write down all your habits, your routes, your routines, your psychological profile, your family history, everything. This crime gets into every aspect of your life. Google all my statements to gang stalking. So the victim goes to the deli and they see that the chicken is all beat up, hard looking, all crinkly looking and dried up. Even a dog probably wouldn't even eat it. And so while the victim is anxious to get out of the store, because when this particular victim usually save the deli for the last place they go to in the store, and then they go and pay for their purchases and then leave and go about their day, pertaining to this particular victim, meaning that going to the deli is one of the last acts they do in the store. Okay, there's no sense in buying hot food and then do all your grocery shopping, and then by the time you get to it, it'll be cold. So it's one of the last things that particular victim does when they're in that store is go to the deli to get hot food. So the victim, 2 visits in a row, including this visit, goes to the deli and the chicken is all messed up. And there's really no other type of chicken there that the victim usually eats. Now remember this, the same victim has already made the mental choice to go to the post office on that day, and did that same victim even tweet about it, about where they were going to go for that day. Okay? So, the victim then is at the deli, they see the condition of the chicken, and then all of a sudden, a thought comes into their head, well, I still got to go to the post office, and I know that there's some restaurants over in the plaza where the post office is at. Like, let's say, a place that sells good hamburgers, or is reported to do so. Okay? Like the plaza where my post office is at, there's a restaurant over in there called The Melt, M-E-L-T. And whenever I leave my grocery store and go to the post office, I'd say at least 15 to 20% of the time I went to The Melt. Remember the first subject matter that was disclosed in this video. So, the victim then says to themselves, all of a sudden a thought pops into their head, well, I still got to go to the post office, and since this chicken looks all fucked up, maybe I'll go to a hamburger restaurant that's in the same plaza as the P.O. box is in. So the victim acts on that choice, goes over to the grocery store checkout lane, buys their purchases, okay, goes and gets their bike, takes a bus over to the plaza where where this hamburger place is at. Am I referring to The Melt, M-E-L-T? You should also know the same plaza where the post office is at and the Melt restaurant is at. The victim has also got identical to a T verbal harassment caught in every store they've been to in that plaza, including the post office itself, which is identical to the verbal harassment that was caught at the grocery store. You can go to Google and YouTube and research at Google, mostly Google concerning this one particular method of gang stalking. Go to Google and type in at Google gang stalking repeating words and phrases, gang stalking repeating identical words and phrases. That's related to the sensitization method of gang stalking. Okay? So, the victim all of a sudden has this thought in her head, well, I can go to the hamburger place inside of the mall where the P.O. box is at, and so that's what I'm going to do. So they pay for their groceries, they get on the bus, and they go over to the plaza where the post office is, and before they go to the post office, they step inside this little restaurant. Am I referring to the restaurant The Melt? M-E-L-T. Okay? So, the victim gets up, the victim arrives at the plaza, and the first thing to do is the victim goes into this hamburger restaurant inside the plaza where the post office is at, where their post office box is at. And the victim then walks up to the counter once they get into the hamburger joint. And they walk up to the counter and they start looking at the menu. And all of a sudden, this kid is coming in and he's acting like he's just arriving. And so when he says, "May I help you?" and the customer, the person says, "Well, can you give me a minute because I'm still deciding." And then the guy who says, "Can I help you?" goes out of his way to say, "Oh, no problem. I just got here." Hear me out. Hold on one more second. Give me a second here. Ah, crap. So then the victim walks up to the counter. The victim's already at the counter, but they get a little bit closer to the counter and says, "Okay, I've made my decision about what I want." And so the victim says, "I would like a cheeseburger with nothing on it except for mayonnaise, ketchup, and pickle." Okay? 2 orders of French fries and a soda. And then the guy says, I couldn't hear that. Can you repeat it?" So the victim repeats it. "I want a plain cheeseburger with just mayonnaise, ketchup, and pickle on the side." So then the guy does the same thing again and forces the victim to say it 5 times in a row. Now, anybody with 2 fucking brain cells would know that that's extremely peculiar. That in and of itself is extremely peculiar. Okay? So the victim repeats it. The victim then pays for the order, which comes to close to almost $20. Just for a friggin' hamburger, order of French fries, and a soda. So the victim then waits for their order. They get their order. They go and sit down, and they unwrap it. They unwrap the cheeseburger and take a couple bites out of it, and they start noticing that something is on it that doesn't taste right. And so they open it up and take a look at it, and it's got jalapeno peppers in the cheese. Hold on one more second. So they get up and they take it to the counter. And the victim says, "Look, I plainly said 5 times that I want a plain cheeseburger with just mayonnaise, ketchup, and pickle, and there's jalapeno peppers in my cheese." Okay? So they take it back from the victim. And they then act like they're going to recook the hamburger. So then the victim walks back over to their table and gets the French fries because the victim wants to be able to eat their French fries hot with the hamburger. So then the victim says, "Can you either redo my French fries too, or can you at least put these on the oven?" Okay, and they totally ignore the victim. Totally ignore the victim. Then they make the victim wait forever to get the remake of the sandwich. Now, what do you think could be going on here? Well, hold on one second. I gotta take a look at something real fast because I might have to start talking fast because I've already spent. Oh, I'm gonna have to start talking real fast because I only make 33-minute videos at a time. So the victim goes to sit down, waiting for the hamburger to be remade. The victim's request about giving the victim new French fries so they can eat hot French fries with the new sandwich has been ignored now 4 times. So the victim gave up on that, went and sat back down, waiting for them to recook the hamburger, and 8 minutes goes by, and the victim is still waiting for the fucking hamburger. Then this big, gigantic black woman comes in with a couple of her friends, and she's standing at the counter. Now, what do you think of when you hear the term bait and hook? Fuck up the order intentionally to bait the victim to go back to the counter. The victim goes back to the counter. They act like they're going to replace the hamburger. They tell the victim to go sit down. 8 minutes go by. Her French fries are getting cold. So this is what you call intentional frustration injection. Okay? So then after 8 minutes, the victim is like 1 second away from getting back up and reapproaching the counter, but now there's a big black girl there. Okay? And so if the victim was to walk back up to the counter and say, "Hey, look, I've been waiting 8 minutes for my hamburger, and what's going on with it? You guys are ignoring me. Okay, what's going on? Why can't you even answer me?" And then, so then what gang stalking will do is prop up somebody who will act like a customer. Am I referring to the big black girl? And what they will do is they will sucker the victim back into this drama so that when the victim goes back up there, and then the employees will start acting like, well, they're just there to help you. And then the victim gets, making the victim wait 8 minutes is done so that they can poke the victim emotionally to get that victim riled up. They first intentionally fucked up the order. Then they completely ignored 5 requests to remake the fries. Then they made the victim wait 8 minutes while gang stalk was being said in there as all this was going on, including by employees. Hold on. So when the victim sees this big black girl come in, and the victim knows that they're capable of this kind of shit, if the victim would have went back up to the counter and said, look, I've been waiting 8 minutes for my hamburger, what's going on? They could have then used the black girl to say, you're interrupting me, I'm trying to get my order. Why are you being so rude to this person who's just trying to take your order and accommodate you? She's already told you that it's cooking. You know, why don't you just go sit down and wait? The waiting for 8 minutes was done to frustrate the hell out of the victim, because they know that the people who are managing them to do this knows that the victim knows that this is being done intentionally, because they have intentionally perpetrated very extremely similar stuff at prior restaurants on prior dates. So the act becomes a memory reference to the crime. While the act is being repeated at another place, gang stalk is being said. So this is done to get the emotions going of the victim. So if the victim was to reapproach the counter when the big black girl's there, she's there to play her role. Well, these employees are trying to be accommodating, want you to just be patient, to try and draw the victim into a confrontation so they can either then call the police or the security and then ban the victim so the victim can't come back. And then 2 months later, they would get a Social Security disability review form in the mail, but they weren't able to get it because they were banned from the plaza. But here's the real kicker. Go to Google and research at Google, voice to skull with voice morphine. Was the chicken intentionally battered at the grocery store? They knew the victim wouldn't buy it because of at least one prior event when the chicken was all screwed up. And so they know the victim's already experienced a bad experience with the chicken. So when the victim sees that this chicken is beat up, they can use what is known as voice to skull with voice morphine to put the idea in the victim's head, I gotta go to the post office anyways, I'll just get a hamburger while I'm over at the other place. So what they're doing is creating a situation and then trying to get the victim to believe that the voice to skull with voice morphine was their own thought response to the chicken being fucked up. So they could steer the victim into the restaurant to stage this event, so they can ban the victim from the plaza where their post office is, so they would not be able to get the review papers from Social Security, therefore they lose Social Security. Welcome to the gang of gang stalking. Voice to skull with voice morphine, hold on one second, is a technology where and it's widely reported that they're even using that shit to set women up for rapes. By making the victim believe they're having their own thought about something, the victim then acts on it, and then when they act on it, by going to a place they're steering the victim to, which is why the voice to skull with voice morphine is used, so they can set the victim up at that spot. Is it possible I'm referring to Von's Grocery Store and the Melt Restaurant? Von's Grocery Store in La Jolla and the Melt's Restaurant in La Jolla? Everybody have a great day. And remember what I said at the beginning of this video about how they will claim a